H ase hovi vara tawo huvichkan tawo and hiwaya miaik. Uruk tawo huvichkan tuwavai. Uruk tase and over pepichin. Haito tau icho ase hovi vakanam tiva Sherman Indian School of Pepichim. Huvitinguam, pisoma ovam yaip kandem. Kav payum ish payum kandem.
Naya kani kwayo ngowayo kunaya we mola eyanga wayo kunaya we mola eyanga wayo kunaya kani kwayo ngowayo naya kani kwayo ngowayo kunaya we mola eyanga wayo kunaya we mola eyanga wayo kunaya kani kwayo ngowayo naya kani kwayo ngowayo kunaya we mola eyanga wayo kunaya we mola eyanga wayo kunaya kani kwayo ngowayo naya kani kwayo ngowayo kunaya we mola eyanga wayo kunaya we mola eyanga wayo kunaya kani kwayo ngowayo naya kani kwayo
The Great Spirit says, come on, I'm going to teach you this song. But it says, before I teach you this song, I'm going to break your heart.
Sometimes our hearts need to be broken. I suppose that would be the one way the Creator would tell us that we are living beings. He gave us hearts, He gave us feelings.
If you are brokenhearted and you're crying and you're singing a song, you'll learn that song.
We just go through life without thinking, without observing, without feeling. And those things have to be brought back to us.
Naya kani kwayo ngowayo kunaya we mola eyanga wayo kunaya we mola eyanga wayo kunaya kani kwayo ngowayo naya kani kwayo ngowayo kunaya we mola eyanga wayo kunaya we mola eyanga wayo kunaya kani kwayo ngowayo naya kani kwayo ngowayo kunaya we mola eyanga wayo kunaya we mola eyanga.
The one in Sherman was the experience that I'll never forget, knowing that these spirits were there waiting, wanting to go back to their families, and knowing that we helped them get back there was, I think, that everybody should know.
Like this children here, they died here, they laid, their spirits would hang around this mountains here and stay here forever. But being as how we sang them these songs, the 4 songs that blessed them, blessed this earth that they're laying in, their spirits will all go back to their home country. They won't no longer hang around here. This was the significance of it to us also.
These two couple were singing that song. It just made me cry because I was thinking to myself, some of the children didn't know their parents and they were orphans. And just really done something to my heart. And I saw that those hawks up there too that Matthew were talking, because I was looking that way just about the same time he was singing. I looked up that way and I said, yeah, we're being blessed. Those are their spirits coming here to, bless us back.
Once those songs were over, I felt much better, knowing that they have gone on to the spirit world.
The story behind the Salt Trail needs to be told to understand the balance between land and people and song and language, and how all of those are interrelated, and how you can't do one without the other.
From the time that I attended school here and the year my mother attended school here, 1939, they were just reminiscing about all their times here at Sherman, good times and bad times, and especially the good times, and how they used to sing salt songs and go behind the buildings to hide from the matrons and whatnot, so that they couldn't hear them speak their language or sing the songs. But they laughed about it afterwards. We used to sneak around behind the buildings singing salt songs. And I thought that was very cute, but it was part of their culture that was very powerful to them, and it stayed with them.
My mother went to school here in Sherman, and she, to her surprise, when she came here, they had a program one day, and everybody was singing, and this 4 Wallapai girls stood up on the stage, and they sang the salt song. And she looked up and she said, well, what are they doing singing my song, Why are she, because she was a salt song singer too, something that she heard from back home. And here, these people from up north, came down and going to school there also, and they were singing the salt song. But then, come to find out later, it was a universal song that they all sang. The songs are the bondage or the glue or the strings, as you might say, that hold us all united and make us into one tribe.
We see ourselves as a larger nation. Our nation covers 4 states, California, Arizona, Utah, and Nevada. The trail comes from the West Coast and comes across Southern California, along through the area of Palm Springs, 29 Palms, and on eastward toward Parker, Arizona, Needles, California, then up towards Chemehuevi, and then from Chemehuevi further up towards Las Vegas, Nevada, Moapa, Nevada, to the Kaibab Reservation. And then on its return, it goes back down through Shivutz Reservation and goes down the same way. It makes kind of like a circle and hits all the Paiute communities.
It's telling about different landmarks, different mountains, the beauty of this mountain, what it stands for, what medicines are found in that mountain, and the salt song tells all of that. If you understood it, you'd be a scholar, I guess, or something.
And along the way are there sources of where the Paiute people gathered the salt for the home. Down through Lake Mead, near Las Vegas, is a salt cave also, and that my grandfather, for one, gathered his salt from there, and that was before Lake Mead went in. And because my people are not able to gather salt from these areas anymore, I find it's necessary to go and sing for these special sites, so that site and the spirits that dwell within that site will know that we haven't forgotten them.
The world that she grew up in, my aunt and my mother, they had access to more people. They grew up in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, and the people they knew that were their elders grew up in the turn of the century. And so we don't have that nowadays. And so things are changing, and things are leaving whether we want them to or not.
See, when I was a child, we had salt singers all over the place, you know. They had people, you go and they sang salt and they sang this. And it wasn't until I went into the service and I was away from home for about, 14 years. And when I came back, I noticed that when they had funerals, there'd be only one old man singing salt, or singing bird, whatever. And when he died, there was nobody. I asked my mother, and I thought about it, and I said, what happened to the good old days, and everybody was singing, and they were falling over one another to grab a gourd and sing, but those days had come to an end, they weren't no more. And my mother tells me, she says, well, you sing the song, how come you don't sing? She said, it could be like that with anybody, how come you don't sing the song?
Just enjoy learning the salt songs. It's hard to me, but I still keep going, and I always tell my family I have to go. I said I have to help support them in these songs. Hopefully someday I'll be an accomplished singer like the rest of them, knowing all the songs.
Go someplace where somebody sings the song and sing with them. Sit down and sing with them, So I did that. I started to go into different functions, different powwows, and this and that, And even at that, I really couldn't sing. I really couldn't sing because I just felt like I didn't belong for some reason. But and I kept it up. I kept doing this and doing that, and it got easier and easier and easier and easier. So eventually, it got so I sang the songs myself. I could sit down, or I could sit in front of anybody, and sing them the song. I could sing it to you. I could sing it to them. I could sing it to anybody.
I wish there would be more of the younger generations from my tribe, the Mwapa band. I wish they would learn. We have to teach our children, because we're the first teachers, right, of our children. So they have to learn these things for them, through us. And it is important that we pass these down to them.
You don't have the young people with the connection that you did, even with people, I guess, my age, where video games are more important, they're time-consuming. People can stay inside all day long. The cultural aspect of this is that you can't have that connection if you're inside, because you won't really understand where all of this comes from and where it's taking you.
If you're not taught, then those children will be lost.
This is where I guess maybe the learning to balance of the modern world with your traditional world comes into play, because the things that we do today are so time-consuming, and you feel comfortable doing one thing, but then you step into another world and you feel uncomfortable because you don't feel whole. You are missing a piece of who you are.
I would maybe call it an adventure, because we're going into an area where no one has really been. And as far as recording and documenting the whole Salt Song Trail and the meaning behind it and why and how it started from the coast and coming inland to where we are, and how he has traveled, and to tell about the journey itself and the trail. And there's so much more to it than there is today. There was much more participation on the part of the people that were gathered. Back then we had orators, a lot more orators, and the language was spoken fluently. There was no English. And then we had chanters, and these are elders, again, chanters that chanted throughout the ceremony. They had their own dance, their own rhythms to the songs that were being sung. And through them, you were able to feel a lot more spirituality between all of the people that were gathered together, the dancers, the singers, the orators, the chanters, and the family, and generally all of the Paiute Nation was there.
I think it would be great to use it as a teaching tool later on to the kids, you know, so they'll know that this is part of our tradition and our culture, that these are the ceremonies that are important to us. As we say, we're traditionalists, so we have to learn the songs. I just would love to see some of the younger kids, you know, take an interest in it. But it's hard in this age that we live in.
For the Salt Song Trail, what we have started is a good beginning. It's just a beginning, though. This document will help us to complete the Salt Trail. And because we have salt singers from Arizona, Utah, Nevada, and California, it'll take a lot of planning, and we have to have some logistical help, but it is necessary for us to complete this Salt Song Trail so that the younger generation will have a better understanding of the ceremony. You can't just go through the motions. You can't do it for show. It has to come from the heart. It has to come from within. As we go into the Salt Song Trail, we need to go to the trail and get the feeling of being attached to the Earth Mother and her children and the songs. And I've said it time and time again that the Earth Mother needs to hear the songs again, especially sung by her people that she placed here, you know, in this area, to take care of the land, to take care of the people, and to be in balance with all things that are living. And so that's why it's to me, it's almost crucial in order to save who we are, to be able to sing our songs and to sing it to Mother Earth, and obviously to all the birds and other animals, other creatures. Not only that, but in order to play a good part in saving sacred lands, sacred sites, we need to explore a little bit deeper into what we have had for a long time, and yet be able to share it with a lot more people so that they can get an understanding of they themselves and their attachment to Mother Earth. In this high technological age, I think a lot of that is lost. A lot of that is forgotten. And a lot of that, you know, people don't spend enough time with that. And that's why we have a lot of imbalances. And things are just not going the way that they should. We need to go to sacred sites and help those who need to be helped. And the way we're going to do that is through the salt songs. Because when you're doing the salt songs, then you are bringing creation all back together again.